Okay, everybody. Hello. It's Brian. It's Friday. It is a stream. And honestly, I don't know what the stream looks like right now. If you just got out from underneath a rock, or you are imitating 28 days later, 28 months later, or whatever, the world has just gone to shit. And there is widespread articles and news about people who are not elected officials. They haven't been appointed. The idea of people taking over large portions of the United States government and having access to classified and even specialized compartmental information facilities is running rampant. And it's just batshit insane, because it goes against a lot of things that we security people have had beaten into us, metaphorically speaking, for years, for decades, not allowing people access to certain information, role-based access controls. And I don't know what this government is thinking. And to be honest, it's not just that. It's societal. It is security. There's, people are saying that this is an intelligence operation ran by Elon Musk. It's, there's just a ton of shit going on, and there's a lot of information out there, and I would love to talk about that, but the last thing I want to do is to rehash what everybody's been living last week and a half. My heart goes out to all of our friends who are wondering if they're going to remain safe in their homes, if they are safe in their own country. I have seen more than one person who is planning an exit strategy, and one who has gone and done that and pulled that cord, and they're moving to Australia and to get away from the current regime that is in place. And I don't know what the next 3 or 4 years looks like. It feels like there are lawsuits and things occurring that may quell some of what's happened, but for all intents and purposes, I would say that this is, or will be, considered the largest data breach in history to date. When certain organizations or NGOs like USAID or the Department of Energy or the OPM, Office of Personnel Management here in the U.S., that handles information, the Treasury Department, which handles Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security benefits, payouts. I would say this is probably the third OPM breach that I'll be involved with. And if you take any Social Security, or you take any Medicare, Medicaid payments, or any kind of disbursements from the government in any way, shape, or form, you should consider your data to have been leaked. That, I would say, that data is gone. Well, it's gone. It's been deduplicated because, people who should not have access to that data have gained access to it. And I am all for change in process. I'm all for fixing inefficiencies. I mean, who hasn't told the joke or made the joke that the government is incredibly inefficient, and that there is a need to change process. The SWIFT banking transfer system has been around for 30 or 40 years, and they've been working on trying to fix that. The IRS has had numerous stories about budgetary concerns, about not being able to upgrade their IT budgets. And there's definitely, if somebody wanted to go in and make changes in that way, that would, in a radical way, one, I'm concerned about how it's being done. There is precedent to want to do these things, but the way they're going about doing it is ill-advised and is wrong and should be. I think if we can get control of everything that has happened and take stock of that, I think we're going to find that there is a massive amount of, if there weren't already holes in the system, there's a bunch of new holes in the system. There's infrastructure changes that have been done. There are people who are no longer working at those organizations because they've been forced out or suggested to be retired. A lot of these government organizations sent out memos asking for forced retirement or get bought out or leave, which sadly we're seeing in a lot of companies as well. For those of you who didn't come to my last stream, my wife accepted a retirement package from Microsoft because there have been rifts, layoffs, and so some folks got payouts, some folks didn't. Some folks were just straight up laid off. Some of these layoffs and rifts and severance packages were based along certain lines. I would say demographic lines in this case. My wife being of the age that she is and the fact that she's above 40 makes her a protected status and was given some severance. But I do understand that there are some groups of people that were not given any severance whatsoever. And that it was performance-based, but there's other things. I mean, we're seeing that with Google. Google's offering buyouts now as well. So honestly, I don't know what the fuck has happened to the world. I don't know if it's, the new regime is just giving people the leverage they need to stop certain initiatives like DE&I initiatives, or this was a long time in coming and they were just waiting for a better, a friendlier government to be able to push some people out. And so, nothing I'm saying here is secret. You can actually go and look online on about the buyouts and Microsoft letting people go. There's all kinds of discussions about that. So let me see. Yes. According to this Medium article, generous severance packages scaled to years of service, extended healthcare coverage for 6 months, depends on how long you've been here, right? Vesting of upcoming quarterly stock grants and a substantial 1.2 set aside for layoff-related payments. So Microsoft's going to spend $1.2 billion to move people out. Veteran employees with decade-plus tenures, including some who had previously earned 200% rewards, were terminated without severance based on a single year of lower ratings. Workers who received low ratings in 2023 but improved in 2024 were still targeted. Managers were not informed that their performance ratings would be used to determine layoffs. So, I don't. Fuck. Okay, yeah, I forgot. I have to hit paste. There we go. Obviously there's a break in trust. Actually, I think, what's it? There were some people that I had seen from other websites. They offer job placement, like most big companies. While you're in your, time between sessions, between, you getting let go and whatever, if there's an opportunity in the organization to stay, like if you're offered another job or you're approached by another group to come in, and work at that, you're a TPM here. Hey, we need a TPM. You should be great for this. We'll bring you on. There were suggestions that if you were to take that new position in Microsoft or in Google or in, insert company here, that if you give up your severance and take the new job, they could let you go in a year or less from the current job that you would take, and then you wouldn't get any severance whatsoever. So there were people saying, take the severance, don't take the new job in the organization if you're given it, because they could let you go from this job after you've denied your severance and you have no recourse. They don't have to give you severance if they decide, hey, in 6 months, you're just not working out, we're going to let you go. So there's a lot of shit going on, and I don't know what all that means. And I don't know what it means for security either. There's a lot of folks out there that spent years, decades in government service, and it feels like the same stories that you hear from when people who did tours in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then we pull out of those areas, and immediately the Afghan people that you spent 10, 15 years training to take over and be responsible for their country just kind of laid down and let the bad guys come back in again. And there are a lot of folks that are feeling like their years of government work has been wasted. And, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, having been in information security and IT for years, I often battle with the am I actually making a difference discussion. And I don't know, if anybody else is feeling the same way, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts about all this. Not just in government work. I mean, I've worked in, payment processing. I've worked as a government contractor. I've worked as a defense contractor. I've worked in the Navy as doing IT. I've worked at an endpoint security company, and I still, even to this day where I work, I wonder, am I making an impact? Am I doing what is necessary to move that needle, or to use the vernacular, or am I making a difference at all, or could I leave and nothing is going to change? I'd say in a big organization, that needle doesn't move nearly as much as you think it should. If you were in a small or medium business, maybe. I think you could probably see that needle move if you had come in and they just failed an audit or done something like that, and you were able to help turn that around and say, wow, you did so much better this year. Maybe that's why the striving for metrics or whatever is kind of important, because it does help you quantify that needle that you've moved. Hey, how many things have you closed? How many things, what's your work? What is your impact? You have to show your impact in that respect. One second here, let me see what this is. Oh, okay, good, excellent. Because, I just had this discussion with my manager earlier today that, I could spend 6-7 hours on an incident or an issue, or working with teams across several business units to address an issue in a Slack channel, or a 3 or 4 hour meeting to fix a major problem. If it's not logged somewhere or cataloged somewhere, or even though I've given my management a heads up on everything that was done, if it's not in a place that is retrievable later, did I do it? And that sucks. And so, yeah, who knows? In 3 months, I may be laid off as well. I don't know. It just, I honestly, because I know Google is laying people off, Microsoft is laying people off. Other big corporations are going to follow suit because it's a way to save money, right? And so every quarter you're going to want to, find ways to save money, and that's usually headcount or, finding ways to innovate. So yeah, I'm one of the reasons I started doing the boot.dev stuff, trying to legitimately get back into Python learning. Got some classes on AI that I'm taking and learning, along with, things like Python, for AI and Jupyter notebooks and all that. Well, thanks, Tomcat. I hope I don't lose my job either. I hope you're still gainfully employed. Let me fix the chat window here. There it is. Doink, doink, doink. There we go. Yeah, I hope I don't either. My wife is retired. She's at the point now where she just is out of fucks, and she has no interest in going back into the workforce other than for something that, it piques her interests. So I am a few years younger than my wife, and while we did talk to our financial advisor, and we are not destitute or living paycheck to paycheck, you've been working for yourself for a few years. Cool, Tomcat. What do you do? What do you do? Are you in a consulting firm? Do you take contract work? I've had several recruiters hit me up for like 6-month contract work. Of course, it would require me to move to Syracuse, New York. Seed investing. Oh, well, you must have a little bit of cash to be able to do the seed investing. Yeah, I don't have, $500,000 to enjoy the abilities of an angel investor or anything like that. Can you imagine doing like a Shark Tank, but like you've got $1,000 to give to give to somebody? No kids helps. I have 1 kid and like 3 cats, so that's like 5 kids basically. So Tomcat, what does that look like for somebody who is, a seed investor? Is it very much like a Shark Tank where you have to, figure out what's the bullshit when somebody's giving you an elevator pitch of, we're going to revolutionize toilet seats, and this is our toilet seat that floats, and it's going to be the most awesomest toilet seat ever. We need $500,000. Kids are expensive. I have 1. My brother has 4? 3, 4? I don't know. I'm a bad uncle. And my sister has 2. So less dramatic. Oh, okay. Well, we can't all be Mark Cuban and that bald guy who does the kitty litter commercials. So I've never actually seen an entire episode of Shark Tank. The whole premise just kind of turns me off to the whole thing. Yeah, his name is Mr. Wonderful or whatever. Yeah, I just I'm not a fan of the premise of the the stories that are involved there, and then I'm sure there's a lot of bullshit back and forth, and I get a lot of the TV is designed to overanalyze things because like Spice, the inverse of Spice, if you don't have a lot of discussion, it doesn't make for good stretching of time on the show. When you watch shows like The Wall or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you're like, why are they spending 30 seconds debating a question like how blue is the, what's the color of the sky? And they spend 30 seconds talking all bullshit about, well, I've gone outside several times in my home in downtown, LA, and I look up and I see the colors of the sky, and I can confidently tell you, and I'm like, just shut up and fucking answer the question. You just can shut the fuck up. It's blue. Pick blue. It's B. Pick fucking blue. Am I still doing regular podcasts? That is a good question. I've thought about starting that back up, just taking, the problem is I stream or a podcast, and it's like, do I do both? I can't do both. So I'm like, maybe we take some of the discussions that we have on here and put them on the podcast, which I can strip the audio out of the video pretty easily and then just, upload as an MP3. With everybody going back to work and commuting, it might actually be a good time to start the podcast stuff back up again. When I maybe talk about news or something like that, that might actually be a good idea. Yeah, streaming is great. Gotta romance the answer. Yeah, my we don't watch the news anymore because, quite frankly, it's depressing as shit. So Game Show Network is on at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and The Wall is on, which is one of those shows where you have two people. They have some sort of story that is heroic or unfortunate or whatever. Everybody has one because that's the only time they seem to bring those folks on. And they romance the answer, right? I've never seen this movie before, but I'm going to, talk about, blah, 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 blah. And I can confidently say that it is C when in fact it was D. I knew that. They didn't, that kind of thing. I sub to both, so I'll catch it later on the pod. Okay. Good to know, Tomcat. And, to be fair, with RTO happening and people returning back to the office, there is a need for audio content. So, maybe when I do my Tuesday podcast with news, or when we have Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin on Sundays, I can easily strip that stuff out and turn it into a podcast. So that is something I definitely will think about bringing back in 2025. Because, for the longest time, people were at home, so they weren't listening to podcasts. And then, we were all working from home, so nobody listened to podcasts. I actually, so yeah, I'll definitely take that under advisement. You stuck talking with Amanda and also Brian? Yes, we actually have had an episode last week with Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin. They are on. It's just, they have things that they're doing. Miss Berlin is now director of product management at Blue Mira. So, let me post up, live, and first show of 2025. There we go. Copy link. I'll put that down here. Yeah, everything, we all got promoted, and we're all, there we go. You can give that one a shot. Oh, no, my bad. Okay. Well, don't pick that one because that one's not going to work. I don't know why it didn't pop up correctly, but this is the actual podcast link. There you go. There you go. All right, there you go. Yeah, so that's us talking about, some news, some discussion. And we had several topics there to discuss. Maybe I'll take some of the audio from that and I'll put it in the audio podcast. So that shouldn't take too long. But yeah. No worries, Tomcat. Thanks for the ask, and glad people are listening to the audio podcast. Haven't gotten a lot of feedback about that one, so we haven't pod faded. We just kind of moved. We lift and shift, right? So now we need to maybe find a new hybrid. And I know Jerry and Andy over at Defensive Security have been doing a lot of things visually nowadays as well, so that's kind of cool. Covering anything specific today? Well, I did talk a little bit about the implosion of our regime here in the government and people taking shit over. But there's a YouTube seems to be where the market is going. I would love for YouTube to have like legitimate RSS feeds without having to go to a third party and paying money for the RSS feeds to pull your YouTube stuff in to make that happen. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I have to have a third party do that because the YouTube hack where you can pull out the RSS feed reader or whatever didn't work. So one of Spotify handles syndication. Yeah, you have to use Spotify though, right? We probably have the RSS feed from BreakSec published on Spotify, and I could probably take the RSS feed from YouTube and put it into Libsyn, which I'm already paying for. So yeah, YouTube is dropping the ball. Yeah, because we do have a playlist, but you can't incorporate that playlist into an RSS reader easily. So yeah. Yeah, most all of the InfoSec news is based on all of the shit that has been going on in the government. I did have an interesting, what was that one about the medical device? There was a medical device issue that, yeah, here it is. Patient monitor. So I don't know how they are doing that. What watch is that? This is a Galaxy 6. So it's, you know, it's got, it's not an Apple Watch, and it has like an aftermarket wristband on it. So let me see. We in a browser. There we go. Oh, well, that's not the right browser. This is some stuff I'm looking at for RPG stuff. So this is me on Blue Sky. I'm not sure why I can't see properties. So that would be the, yes. There we go. So there's security vulnerabilities in a patient monitor. The FDA, which apparently is still functional part of government right now, weird, is raising awareness among healthcare providers that there are vulnerabilities in a patient monitor called the CMS 8000 and the Epsimed MN120 patient monitor, which are, oh, I see. So much like wireless chipsets that pop up, so Context creates one, but then somebody else licenses the Context when they slap another sticker on it and call it the Epsimed MN120. The three vulnerabilities identified can be remotely controlled by an unauthorized user or not work as intended, which, you know, kind of a big deal with medical devices. And I'll post that link up in our chat here. Oh dear. Yeah. And so the software on the patient monitor includes a backdoor, which may mean that the device or network to which the device has been connected to may have been or could have been compromised. And then once the patient monitor is connected to the internet, it begins gathering patient data, which is what it's supposed to do, including PII and protected health information, and exfiltrates the data outside of the healthcare delivery environment. So that's part of the backdoor, I would imagine. So yeah, not good. Not sure how that happened. It sounds like if you have any of these patient monitors in your healthcare organization, you should consider yourself owned, and wherever that data is going to, and you know, like most good people, you should be watching your egress as well as your ingress. If you have, not saying it's China, but I'm guessing Contact was built in China. These are sending your patient health records, patient health information and telemetry to someplace that is not inside the government, your medical area. So let me see, what do they say here? 3, deny access to the device, such as cause the device to crash. 3 have been identified. Potential impacts fall into 2 main categories. Denying access to the device, such as causing the device to crash and being unable to work as intended. And take over the device to remotely control it to perform unexpected or undesired actions, such as corrupting the data. Well, there's a lot of problems here with that. You know, being able to remotely control the data. It almost sounds like you boot the thing up and it automatically sends like a shell out to somebody that allows you to push something back through. Could be an SSH, could be an SSL, A tunnel could be something like that, but it says if your device does not rely on remote monitoring features, unplug the device's Ethernet and/or disable wireless if Wi-Fi or cellular capabilities. If you cannot disable the wireless capabilities, then continuing to use the device will expose the device to the backdoor and possible continued patient data exfiltration. Great. This must have been sent out before CISA or CISA went away or is less useful now. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with these medical devices. I don't know if it's a patch just recently did it or it was always there and it was just discovered within the last couple of months. Let me see. Okay, so wow, I'm surprised this is actually still up on their website and hasn't been scrubbed. It says this fact sheet contains a detailed analysis of 3 firmware package versions from the CMS 8000, a patient monitor used by U.S. public health and healthcare sector. Analysts discovered an embedded backdoor function with a hard-coded IP address. Okay, so CWE 912, hidden functionality. And functionality that enables patient data spillage. So 359 to CWE exposure of PII to an unauthorized actor. Please note, CMS 8000 may be relabeled and sold by resellers. So, if you have a Linksys device, somebody will buy it, they'll slap a new shell on it, and it's basically a Linksys device inside, like a ISP. ISP might use a Linksys device, but they've created a shell for it and they've repackaged it. So the MN whatever was one of the ones. There may be other ones. Let's see, what does the PDF here say? Oh, okay, there we go. Figure 1. So this is what they look like. Hopefully these aren't used everywhere. It's a global medical device manufacturer headquartered in China. Weird. Medical device is used in hospitals, clinics, and home healthcare environments in the EU and United States. Following reporting of a vulnerability by an external researcher. That's interesting. So somebody got a hold of one of them, like an external researcher, like a bounty researcher or something like that. Or maybe a hospital was doing a third-party pen test and somebody found on the firewall logs or somewhere in the traffic when they were sniffing traffic across the network, hey, what's this IP address and why is it going to China? I'm assuming the hard-coded IP is from China, but yeah, so yeah. While the research team investigated the firmware device for the hard-coded IP, they observed a peculiar set of commands within the device firmware. So ifconfig eth0 up, mount. Okay, so we're going to mount an NFS share. This is presumably the IP address, /pm mount. So you're going to go out to an IP address using an NFS. Oh my God. Okay, so you're using NFS. Yes, from an IP address that is not registered to the device manufacturer. Registered to a university. Interesting. The research team did not observe communication to the university's IP, only attempts by the device to reach out. As mentioned previously, code lacks features commonly associated with update mechanisms. Manufacturers typically deliver firmware packet updates in update packages, allowing them to the ability to precisely track what software or firmware is installed on the device. In a perfect world, which is essentially understanding of the cybersecurity posture of the device. Okay, so this is a good write-up. I would take a look at this. I would probably pull it down before it gets scraped off of the website because of our current regime is not good. Yeah, it's been a rough week, Tomcat. The world's going to shit. So, but yeah, this looks like a nice write-up. If you get a hold of some medical devices that are similar to this, or you work in a hospital, you might want to take a look at this. So, well, that's pretty much right. Right command, mount, no lock, NFS/PM. So they're giving you a mount point on the IP address. So wouldn't this also mean that there's an IP address out there if you went on to Shodan? Because it's so it's 3 digits, 1 digit, 3 digits. Somebody should be able to go to Shodan and, I don't want to say scan the entirety of China's IP range because that would be ignorant, but if you're looking for an NFS share out there with a /PM, you will have the ability to pull that data. So no lock disables file locking over NFS. That's probably, something you can do. Connecting to older NFS file shares. So there's no telling how long this has been up. I mean, it says older NFS file shares or read-only file shares. Although remotely mounting an NFS share presents several operational vulnerabilities, lack of encryption and authentication, research team discovered other relevant artifacts associated with the IP address. Okay, so yeah, they're going to go through the write-up on this. You know what, let's just go ahead and pull that down just in case. There we go. Yeah. 2 pre-release firmware patches were sent to CISA for analysis by Contact. So that's interesting. So Contact actually sent firmware patches to CISA. They received the original vendor patch, and then the firmware image received was not assigned an official version number. So the version 2.08 enabled, the line that enables ETH0 was removed from the second patch as a partial means of mitigating the vulnerability. It's interesting. So I guess now they're trying to figure out when the vulnerability was introduced, whether it was introduced at build time or it was added after the fact, maybe a supply chain issue where somebody's developer got owned, very similar to some other issues that we've seen in the past. And there you go. So beacon, yeah. So good write up here. I mean, this is not bad. I would take a look at this, keep track of this, because I mean, we have talk to your healthcare provider about whether your device relies on remote monitoring features. I would say because they mentioned home healthcare, right? So if a company is utilizing these for home healthcare, like you get one because you have to monitor people at home, this opens up a hole on somebody's local network to be able to go out. You may need to have wireless connectivity or internet connectivity for this thing so that the home healthcare provider company would be able to monitor human vital signs. But it also not only sends maybe data to the place where it's supposed to be set up with the home healthcare provider, but it also sends stuff to China. So just good times there, good times. Yes, my kitty is... yeah, she runs around all over the place. So there we go. Yeah, she has. She's always had white fur. It was we got her that way. Her kids are similarly colored. So, yeah. Is there something to mitigate this? I mean, the researcher found it by either having a version of it themselves, like I said, or they were doing a assessment of a hospital system that had these and saw some interesting traffic going across, or something that was trying to go out and pinging, like they were using Wireshark monitoring a network segment. And why is this device pinging 123.123.1.123? And come to find out that shouldn't be happening, right? So then the researcher, probably through their company, went to CISA and said, hey, you need to contact Contec and see that. It's like having an open port, but it's also it would be like there used to be like a Hack 5 application or a little dongle that you could plug into a box, and then it would, you know, send a shell out over the internet back to that NFS company, or it's for exfiltration purposes. So in this case, it's NFS. Anything that's in that mounted directory, the MNT directory, is going to send that information out. It's interesting. I don't know what would be in the /MNT directory. It would feel like, yeah, I'm not sure. That's an interesting place to have a mount point for NFS. Because MNT is usually, you know, in a Linux box, when you /MNT something, it's, you know, that's where you put thumb drives, or that's where you would, when you would plug in a thumb drive, that data gets, so mount monitor. So maybe mount monitor, see, mount monitor, copy everything from recursively from mount to opt bin. Okay. And then copy. One, you know, code should not have these kinds of commands in them, so that's interesting too. Somebody could have dumped the firmware off of these devices and, you know, found this, which is probably what happened. CP/F optmin start monitor. Okay. So there could be logs in the mount directory under mount monitor, so there could be that kind of information. I don't know what kind of information is in the initial setup either. So if it, you know, if it's name, patient ID, you know, it's going to put heart monitor information. It's going to put lung. Let me see what else was on there. Let's see. Let's maximize the screen here a little bit. Sorry. Maybe we can see what is shown on the screen here. So you would have, well, typically like what you would see on a, like a, you know, here's the heartbeat. So 120/80. You have pulse ox, so it'd be like 98% pulse ox. 20 could be, I don't know. There's a number of different things on here for telemetry. So you've got, you know, it would be oxygen levels in the blood. It would be your heart rate. It would be your pulse. So how many times a minute it's beating. I'm hoping it's not 98, because if you have a heart rate of 98 beats per minute, that's a little high. But yeah, so there's a number of different, and you know, there's other things. So it'd be like you know, maybe it's got different leads in from your central line, so it's taking other telemetry and other information. So is this like the most popular device like this? I don't know. I don't know how popular the Contec or Epsomed is in many cases. Let me see how, what do we say? How popular is the ConMed device? Okay, so they are, out of the big 100, look like they're number 70. So they're not like number one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so they, let me see, as of 2022, which is 2-ish, 3-ish years ago, they do $1 billion US. Their R&D spend is $43 million, so that's not awful. They have 3,800 employees. Somebody named Kurt Hartman is the president and CEO. It says they're based out of Largo, Florida. That's interesting. Oh, wait. ConMed has been active on the M&A front. They bought device maker Into Bones Global for $145 million in June, then announced an agreement to acquire Scaffold Startup. Scaffold Startup. It's probably like for heart scaffolds, like stents or something, maybe. Founded in 1970 and based in Utica, New York, before moving to Florida in 2021. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, they don't appear to be all that popular. You know, out of their 100, you know, out of how many ever thousands of biomed companies. So they're not unpopular, but they're kind of middle of the range. I don't know. Let me see. ConMed. Surgical device and equipment. You have all, okay, see, he's fake pointing at fake pictures while she looks on appreciatively at how awesome the fake picture is. Gastroenterology, air seal insufflation systems, orthopedics, smoke, and all products categories. Okay, so yeah, I don't know how popular they are in hospitals. I do remember being in a hospital with my wife at one time and seeing like the infusion pumps that had just had a medical device alert for security on them because Telnet was open on them, right? Telnet infusion pump. It's not Smith's. Medfusion. One of them. Let's see. Is it this one? CSO Online. Might have been this one. Batteries contain Wi-Fi credentials. Okay, that's not it. Yeah, I was reading because I was waiting. My wife was undergoing some kind of operation or something, and I was reading on my phone. Hey, here's a vulnerability in some infusion medical pumps that send medication to people, and I turn and I look, and oh, it's the exact same one that is being used by my wife. And I was like, fuck. So yeah. Oh. Contech, not ConMed, my bad. Yeah, Contech. See, that's just how bad it is. Contech, popularity. Oh, it's only, okay, so according to this, Contech is one of the fastest growing companies in SC as of 2019, so that's old. 4 vertical markets, which have driven sales in 30 of those 31 years, R&D in the US, China, and EU. So Contech, medical devices. Right, FDA. Let's see if anybody can tell us. They're probably not going to disclose which hospital systems are using them. Let's see, CISA said the IP agency earned hospital staff to use only local monitoring features, which allow them to unplug the devices, Ethernet and wireless. Longer technical report. Unlikely. Yeah, I don't think you're going to find out which hospitals are actually using the systems. And they don't make any reference to how, it's a medical device company. The affected patient monitors are used in setups. So there's, I don't know if it says it's sold by resellers. So, FDA explaining that. They've not seen any cybersecurity incidents, injuries, or deaths related to the vulnerabilities, but warn that the bugs could allow hackers to bypass security controls and manipulate devices. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they actually can deliver, temperature, that's the other ones I was looking at. I was looking for the, that's O2, pulse, respiration, that's it. That's what the other one underneath was. And then temperature of the body. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the hospital, you get admitted. Sorry, I don't want you to treat me because you're using a product that is, hot garbage. You're not going to, So maybe a hacker could rig it so it doesn't alert. Yeah, I mean, if they can manipulate the devices, there could be settings inside the device that would, it says potential remote, but I didn't see any commands in that list or anything that would say, because you can send data over NFS, but I don't know if you can actually run commands back through the NFS tunnel or whatever. I mean, they're not encrypted, so, NFS doesn't lend itself to encryption. I mean, if it was part of an update function, which it sounds like it wasn't part of an update function, it could be that. The fact that it's going to a university, I don't know. There could be a lot of them out there. Mops Industry. You would have to know the specific device. I mean, they did say what the 6800 or the 8000, the CMS 8000 or the Epsimed MN120 patient monitors. So, you'd have to find out, like, does Cedars-Sinai use Epsimed. Devices. I mean, I don't know if you could actually do that, but no, Epsimed devices, not Epsihome devices. I mean, maybe you can. Let me see. Dr. Digital, wearable device worn around the arm. I mean, they could put, a hospital could put out, hey, you know, we're proud to be using, you know, blah, blah, you know, wearable devices. So here's one, yeah, about using data from seniors embedded in the wearables or transmitted to a person's smartphone or physician's office. I mean, this is exactly right. Like, it's hooked up to the Wi-Fi or somebody's house. It would send that telemetry to the doctor's office, but it could also send it to a university in China. So, yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, ni hao, exactly. Yeah. Moshi moshi. Nope, sorry, it's wrong. That was wrong. Wait, was it? No, I think so, right? I only know that from Kill Bill. She answered the phone. She said moshi moshi. Yeah, that's Japanese. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I screwed that up. My bad. So accidentally uncovering a 7-year-old kernel vulnerability. Interesting. Allele security. Let's see what the bug was. 7-year-old vulnerability. It's only 7, so I mean, we've seen vulnerabilities that have gone even worse than that. So, KCM networking protocol race conditions. Okay, so race condition vulnerability caught our attention when checking the dashboard of the syscaller fuzzer. Okay, check the source code of the latest release of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and it's still vulnerable. Oh, all right. Let's see, what's the commit say here? SK receive queue is protected by the SKB queue lock, but for KCM sockets, its RX path takes a MUX RX lock to protect more than just the queue. Okay. So they figured out a race condition that was 7 years old that they've been able to address. So that's pretty good. Is there a better write-up than this? Let's see, back it up. Check the source code. We started to simplify the syscaller reproducer to get cleaner code. We reduced the code step by step, identifying needed pieces and removing unneeded ones, finally reaching a simplified version of the code. We'd already suspected by looking at the splat we obtained, but during this process, we noticed our trigger had nothing to do with the networking protocol. It was triggering a splat. Splat being an error message or a trace, right? Interesting. I use Linux. I just upgraded from a Windows box. I actually have several boxes that I'm going to be donating to a nonprofit because I'm just using my MacBook now for streaming because I'm a big fan of the Silicon version of that now. So why is my screen not dying? Let me turn that off. There we go. The bug we triggered had nothing to do with the protocol. The syscaller splat was generated by KSON. In this case, it was a warning due to protection mechanisms implemented in the reference counter API of the Linux kernel. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of cool. Can go through and read some more of that. I thought it'd be a little more interesting than that. I like using Linux. I don't have a problem with it. I just tried using it as my streaming platform, but I found that I had issues with hardware, like my Facecam Pro does not work in Linux without some kind of janky GStreamer wrapper thing that causes audio-visual sync issues. So upgraded upgraded to a new MacBook, which I haven't had a MacBook since 2017, 2016, and so far I'm happy with it. The battery lasts like 12 hours currently, and I can I don't have to worry about it burning my legs at 130 degrees Fahrenheit when I'm running the discrete graphics on it. So it works actually pretty good. And it hopefully will last me a few years. I've added a hard shell case to it and everything, so I'm hoping that it will last a good long while. But yeah, so let's see, threat intel. Wow. Okay, so going back to some of the bullshittery that we were talking about, a U.S. Treasury threat intelligence analyst designates the Doge staff as an insider threat. Well, they're not a threat. They're actually they're realized, so not they are a threat that, they, so I don't put a lot of stock in daily cause, but see if there's a different group here. Wired.com. Okay, so Wired.com is reporting on this, and Daily KOS is actually stating something as well. So yeah, when I used to work in an organization, and we wondered about what would happen when we needed to create US-based threat actors, what the animal for those would be, if it was going to be like an eagle or a marmot or a weasel or something like that. Because at the time we gave threat actors animal names. So yeah, it was interesting to see the first U.S. threat actor being somebody who's headed up by, depending on who you talk to, a Russian plant or something like that. So Cloudflare incident on the 6th. What happened here? R2 object storage unavailable for 59 minutes on Thursday, February 6th. Wild turkey. There you go. I'm sure the wild turkey folks wouldn't be happy with that one, but I'm not a fan of giving them like heroic names. So lazy, lazy badger, or lazy ass turkey would be a good one. Lazy turkey, something like that. Itchy marmot, or slug. Oh, slug would be good. I'd like banana slug, something like that. Interesting. So this is anti-buying, Cloudflare. Normally, when you see these articles from Cloudflare, they're like, "Oh, we stopped another 5.6 terabyte per second denial of service attack," which is a thinly veiled advertising article for them. So, yeah, there's a lot of discussion about the federal buyouts and all of that. Unfortunately, Cisco acquires Booz Allen Hamilton's spin out. Yeah, I saw this one. Cisco bought something else. Yeah, majority is Snap Attack. Okay, so that's something else. I saw there a venture capitalist had bought. Let me see. What did Taggart say here? Taggart had mentioned. Oh, yeah, here's another one that is, the world is on fire. So according to TechDirt, Mike Masnick, UK government has finally shown its true hand on encryption. Well, it's not finally. I mean, we've known about it for years. They were trying to add backdoors to encryption forever. According to Joseph Min at the Post, the British officials have ordered Apple to create a backdoor that would allow them to access encrypted content from any Apple user worldwide. This comes after years of the UK government's mounting an assault on encryption, from the Investigatory Powers Act to the Online Safety Act. Officials repeatedly insist they aren't trying to break encryption entirely. Those of us following closely saw it coming. They've been trying to do this for years, adding a backdoor, while still trying to maintain safety, which you can't. You can't. So security officials in the UK demanded Apple create a backdoor allowing them to retrieve all the content any Apple user worldwide has uploaded to the cloud. British government's undisclosed order issued last month requires blanket capability to fully encrypted material, not merely assistance in cracking a specific account, and has no known precedent in major democracies. So yeah, UK government's demanding that. UK is part of the Five Eyes group, so potentially getting the ability to do that in the UK would mean that other Five Eyes countries could come to the UK and said, "Hey, here, force Apple to give up that data," or those Five Eyes countries or any other country dealing with it will now have the legal precedent that the UK just tried to pass to say, well, if you gave it to the UK, you can give it to us. So, did you cover Spark Car? I did not. I do not know what Spark Car is, but we will find out. So, what's everybody's thought on that? Spark Car. Well, obviously, it's not a Chevy Spark. Spark Cat. Spark Cat. Crypto Stealer. Oh, sure. Why not? If you have crypto, that's something you should be worried about. Aw, that's AI generated, but it's still cool. Apple removed the malicious apps from the Play Store. Okay, so looks like they did this on February 7th from Google and February 6th from Apple. So Apple was just a little bit faster. But yeah, so then we can close that one off. But yeah, so the government is, UK government is asking for Apple to create a backdoor. Not only does that put Apple in the trust position where people who care, to be fair, can't trust online backups to be owned only by them. But, now it's like, well, what do you do now if you've got a bunch of stuff in the iCloud or on your devices, for instance? So, yeah, Spark Cat campaign which targeted Android and Windows users saw malware spread through unofficial sources. New malware campaign dubbed Spark Cat, whose operators use similar tactics while attacking Android and iOS users through official and unofficial app stores. Our conclusions in a nutshell. So which apps were they? Judging by timestamps and malware files and creation dates of config files in GitLab, has been active since March 2024. Well, that's quite a while. What's this say? Screenshot reading malware, essentially. Okay. Well, how's it? Let's see. Come Chinese food delivery. Good. I didn't. Hey, there you go. You can get your, drop Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash and all those and use Come Chinese food delivery. Nope. So yeah, they great. It's written in Java, of course. Downloads a JSON file from a GitLab URL. JSON is embedded with base64 and then encrypted with AES 128 in CBC mode. Well, that's not awful. If the SDK fails to retrieve a configuration, the default settings are used. Okay, so they have that. Those are the default settings. HTTP and Rust fields contain SDK-specific C2 addresses, command and control. And if the TFM flag to the final meltdown, I don't know what TFM stands for, is used to select a C2. Okay, all right. Rust will be used. HTTP if TFM has any other value. Okay, so it will default to Rust first and then use TFM being any other value other than 1. So wow. Okay, so this isn't a bad write-up here. So Chinese delivery of malware. Hey, there you go. Don't have to go out and get your malware. It'll just come to you, right? Come get malware. Static analysis of the library wasn't easy as Rust uses a non-standard calling convention and the file had no function names in it. Oh, very cool. Okay. We managed to reconstruct the interaction pattern after running a dynamic analysis with Frida. Before sending data to the server, the library generates a 32-bit key for the AES GSM sieve cipher. With this key, it encrypts the data pre-compressed with a ZSTD. The algorithm's nonce value is not generated and set to unique nonce set in context in the code. Okay. Yeah, here's the nonce size of keyword. So it creates that value. Looks like in that. Oh no, there's another nonce up here. So it creates several nonces. It looks like it creates a unique nonce, extending the AES key using hard-coded nonce values. Oh, all right. Wow, so I wonder how long it takes to actually analyze this stuff. That's kind of interesting. Seems like they took a good while. They said March 2023, but I don't understand. They say it's been available since March 2024. Let me see. OCR model 2024. So maybe the malware implants have changed over the year. So they said March 2023. It took them a year to find, or it took them 2 years to find SparkCat. But this iteration of SparkCat has been around since March 2024. That's what it sounds like. So the malware implants that have been in use for almost 2 years. SparkCat or version whatever has only been active since March 2024. So yeah. Good times, good times. Oh, so it's a food delivery app in the UAE and Indonesia. So it sounds like this did not affect US-based folks. And maybe it's, instead of come Chinese food delivery, it's come food delivery. It just happens, oh, this is the Chinese flavored version of it. You should use this version. Unbelievable information technology company. It definitely is unbelievable, isn't it? So yeah, maybe it was only these two countries, UAE and Indonesia, who got hit. Wow. Yeah, so AES encrypted data. Here's compressed and encrypted data. That's a whole mess of stuff, man. Wow. Spark decrypts a payload from assets and executes it in a separate thread. It uses XOR with a 16-bit key for a cipher. There's your 16-bit keys. Man, okay, so I'm only about a third of the way through this write-up, and they are still going. So I would say take a look. Oh, wait, is there other? Okay, so they said it's not the only app they found. Another app called Chat AI, because, that's hot. 242,000 times, and some of them remained accessible in Google Play. Full inventory can be found under the IOC section. We alerted Google of the presence of infected apps in its store. So Google it's definitely not good, Tomcat. Yeah, so they just removed all those apps within the last, today it said. So one small detail, okay. Trojan existed for other platforms. Okay, so Android or iOS. I don't know if there's any other platforms other than Android or iOS that exist, but maybe it can be infecting other things in other app stores, like Linux or something like that. Infected with OCR spyware. So yeah, screenshotting, just like Tomcat said, found in the official app marketplace. So the app had to get screenshotting capabilities. Somebody noticed. Negative user feedback. Don't give him any permission. He will identify your pictures and steal your info. A very bad app. If the local information department allows it, you should check them out and impose a maximum fine on them. So somebody found that there was some naughty stuff going on. They just didn't know how to respond to it. So WeTink, AnyGPT, so the whole list of apps here. But Oh, they're using, oh, looks like they have used some AWS type back end here, some infrastructure dealing with that. Uploading to AWS. Here's the data information. So yeah, I would say take a look at this. Here's some apps that were infected. Maybe if you have them on your network or you have them in your app stores for work. Here's MD5s and Trojan configuration is available there. Yeah, so yeah, good. Oh yeah, here you go. Here are the infected APKs, bundle IDs inside iOS frameworks. Well, that's a nice write-up. If you have a chance to take a look at this site, go check securelist.com. They probably have other write-ups for similar research that has occurred. 13-minute read. I can assure you it was more than 13 minutes. But yeah, so by Kaspersky. Okay, so it is what it is. So very cool. Anyway, I really wanted to go longer, but I'm just happy I got on for as long as I did. I want to thank Tom Cat for being here. I am hungry and I'm going to go get some dinner, and hopefully next week will be better for everybody. And I will do what I can to Tom Cat's point, get on the audio podcast. Yeah, from Russia with Love, exactly. I will work on a workflow for the audio podcast. Like I said, pulling it down from YouTube and, knocking the back end and front end off to make sure that we don't have a lot of extra noise will be easy. And I will see about getting the audio podcast started back up here, at least for like streams. So I'll have to remind myself that I can't just show you, hey, look up here on the screen and doing this. It's like I'm audio podcast. You can't hear me. And what I'll try to do is add a link to the YouTube video so people can watch, if we do, any kind of, look at the screens kind of stuff so people can take a look. Other than that, hope you have a good weekend. Hope everyone has, thank you again, Tomcat, for spending time with me here. And tell your friends. And all right, I'm off. Y'all take care. Be safe. Hit up our Discord if you want to. I know it hasn't been very active either. We do have a Slack if you're interested as well to join that. If anything, to escape, the walls falling down around us here, and hopefully we'll have a brighter day and a brighter week and a brighter year. And everyone have a good day. All right, take care, y'all. Bye.